What's going on, everybody? It's Dave and welcome back to another video today on the channel. Today we've got Football Manager 2019, the Season 2 review of the CLASSICO save, the Porto and Benfica network save between myself and Friday Night FM. If you've not gone and checked out the Season 1 review, make sure you go and do that before we kick off this video. I'll give you 10-20 seconds or so before I ruin anything else. But before we start off today's video, guys, make sure you go and check out my channel sponsors over at OneFootball. In my opinion, I use it every day, the #1 football app out there for your live scores, your live football news. It's free on Android and iOS. You keep up to date with your favourite team, all the news. You get push notifications for your team as well, and obviously check out the latest scores, including goal scorers, assists, and so on as well. So a link to that is at the top of the description down below. Now, you've had enough time, if you haven't already, to go and check out what happened in Season 1. But you guys would know that Joe went and won the title last season out. And I had just had a massive takeover. So in today's video, we're going to be checking out, obviously, the league, other competitions, transfers, tactics, results, everything really. But let's start off with the league table. I think we're under Joe's persona at the moment. But let's go under the league table. Well, let's check out Joe's competitions, because he's had a very successful year, in my opinion, other than the league. So he won the Super Tacker, early doors, that's like the Community Shield. He went and won the Europa League. Fantastic achievement for our second season, especially for Benfica. We'll look into that a little bit more shortly. He obviously got into the Europa League after being knocked out in the group stage of the Champions League, which was won by Lyon. They went round smashing some teams. He lost out in the Taça de Portugal, which is like their FA Cup, but he went and beat me in the League Cup final, which we'll go through shortly. But in the league, my Porto side went and won it with 91.7 points ahead of Joe in the end. But still, fantastic season for both of us. Let's start off though with the, well, let's look more into the league. So 91 points for me, 84 points for Joe. But Joe, to be honest, let's look at it more in depth, because 30 wins, 1 draw, 3 losses for me. 26 wins for Joe, 6 draws and just 2 losses. I scored 104 goals. Joe scored 87, but I did concede 27. Joe only conceded 15 goals throughout the whole season. In their losses, he conceded 2 to me at the end of the season, 1 to Braga. In the draws, he conceded 2. Like, there were a lot of games. Like, look at his wins. A lot of them are clean sheets. Had a few big games as well. But 70 plus 72 to my plus 77. And in the end, he didn't quite have enough to win it. In the end as well, but how close was it down the bottom? Look, anyone really on the final day from 13th down could have still gone down. Porto, unfortunately, the side that have gone down. Stat-wise though, Lincoln and Olivier Uncham, my central midfielder, ending up as level top goal scorers. Lincoln for Joe, Uncham for myself. Marega as well, who actually didn't get too many minutes. But a fantastic one. Gabby Gold coming third as well. Loads of goals. The best thing about my team this season was the amount of goals that were shared between the players. Let's quickly look at Olivier Uncham though. Brought him in last season for about 15.5 million. Didn't really get much game time, but he's produced 20 goals in all competitions. And one of the best things about Football Manager that I like to look at is the goals per minute. And from central midfield, who's getting a goal every 120 minutes, which is unheard of, really. It's like a goal in a game in a third, isn't it? So fantastic for a central midfielder. Musa Marega actually didn't play that much, so his ratio must be fantastic as well in the league. A goal every 90 minutes. Really, really good for a striker, and he didn't really get much game time as well. So that was a big achievement. Let's look at the transfers though. Who Joe brought in this season, if he's got anyone planned. Now, he's got a lot of clauses. Players that he's got joining and leaving. So Kazawa, who we know he signed, who was a left back last season, is leaving on a free. He said it's been fantastic for him, but he's got a lot of players coming through in that sort of position. This guy is leaving. I'd assume he's out on loan already. Pavel Davidovits, Duarte Valente, he's joining him. He's joining Joe, defensive midfielder. Wow, mentally he looks fantastic. Good little bit of height on him as well. Thiago Dantas, he's leaving. So, I mean, let's quickly check the ins. So, Duarte Valente, Ivoni. Leandro Lopez from Ferro. He's an Argentine. He looks very nice. Attacking midfielder. Leandro Lopez, who's the one I just literally clicked on. Jose Sergio Rodriguez, who's a winger. He's naughty. I like him. He's a good player. And Ivan Calero, who is joining Benfica as well. He looks a pretty decent player. The outs, as I say, Kurzawa, Dantes, and Dawidovic. But overall, the signings that he brought in, look at the amount of players Joe brought in. And look at the amount he sold. Jeez. So Joe brought in, paid out 278 million. And that would include long-term clauses as well. So I know he wouldn't have spent that much. And then brought into the club 268 million. So any player with a star next to them, Joe tends to do if they're like a future star or someone that's up and coming, a good talent. You can see here Junior Rocha, Dejan Jolevic. Let's just call him Dejan. Francisco Trincao, who's a fantastic player, I know, and I'm hoping that, you know, Joe didn't really play him this season. I'm hoping with those attributes he can make a step up. Lincoln, who we know ended up being Joe's top goal scorer. Technically, he's okay. Nothing outstanding as such, but mentally he's very good. I think he'll turn out to be one of the better forwards in the league because he's a very quick player, very physical as well. Obviously, Kurzawa came in at the start of the season. He's now leaving. Alexis Selemakers, who was very good for him. He looks a fantastic player, Belgian. Dale Fry came in from Middlesbrough. Gonzalo Martinez from River, who I know is a good player. He played. He actually didn't play that much for him. Not as much as I expected him to, so he struggled a little bit. Who else? Renato Sanchez came in on loan. A big signing was Jadon Sancho from Borussia Dortmund, who got a big chunk of games as well. Renato Sanchez came in on loan, played a fair amount of games. I'm not sure if Joe will look to keep him, though. Who else? Vinicius Jr. came in on loan. Again, he wasn't actually that brilliant for Joe, which is a shame because he's a very, very good player. And then the biggest signing of all was Lautaro Martinez from Inter. Now, he was a player that I was looking at, and I think Joe thought, you know what, I'm just going to do him here. He signed him a big amount of money. His return wasn't fantastic, but he still got a couple of goals. And at the end of the day, you know, I think he'll be a future star in this league. Players that went out, big players that went out for Joe. Andrej Zivkovic, Luka Jovic, and Alex Grimaldo all left. Now, Zivkovic and Grimaldo left really early doors. Luka Jovic, Joe had kept hold of for a while. Obviously, he came back from a loan deal at Eintracht Frankfurt. Joe really wanted to keep him, but I think that sort of money for a player that Joe's not really used, I think no doubt he would have done well in our league, but it was a lot of money at the time. Yuri Ribeiro, I can't even get my words out today. Walter Kahneman, all big players for Joe, moved on. But obviously, he's reinvented his team with these players. Now, let's go and have a quick look at my transfers, who I had brought in this season. So, we've got a few players coming in. Let me take those off. I think this one, the first one, I have to explain. Day of as a party, I am in the game due to being a researcher. And I thought, I've not signed myself yet. So look, why don't I bring myself in? So I've brought myself in, and there we go. I'm not fantastic, but it's me, innit? I'm coming in. Rogerio's coming in on a free from Juventus. I think this will be a good signing. I'm getting rid of one of my left backs, which I'll go through in a second. But mentally, this guy's very good. 22 years of age. I think he's a backup, and you know, we'll make some big money on this guy if we need to sell him. Alexis McAllister. I've seen a few people sign him on a free from Argentinos Juniors. Again, he's probably not going to start for me, but I think he's a good option. And then the last one, this is purely to try and make a little bit of money off it. Ezekiel Ponce. Again, he's not fantastic, but you know, if we can get a few million for him after I've signed him on a free, so be it. Transfer history, though, you can see I got 70 million for next season. We'll have to see if the ball give me any more because I've not had a change yet. Players leaving the club. There's no one really as big as Marcelo Hermes, who I actually brought from Joe at the start of the season. And as you can see by his average ratings, he's been very, very strong for us. A very good player. But other than that, all the other guys are sort of backups. Alex Telles, his bid to Manchester City was rejected. Now, as you can see, I paid out 230 million, again, including clauses, and got rid of 153. The first and the biggest signing was right at the start of the summer, and it's a player that I said I wanted to bring in, was Reuben Neves. Reuben Neves came in, and my God, he was a fantastic player. So good, really solid average ratings throughout the season. Still valued at 50 million. I've got teams sniffing around him. Not so much now, but they definitely were throughout the season. Only 23 years of age, and he was a very, very strong player for us. Grabbing 7 goals in the league, 8 assists as well, 2 man of the match awards, playing as a DLP. Really, really happy with his contribution. I wish it showed a breakdown of the signing, but yeah, we didn't pay 83 million up front. I think I paid about 60 up front with clauses, but a really decent debut season from Neves, so happy with that return. The next player I brought in was Coke. I thought a little bit of experience at right back wouldn't go amiss. We brought him in. What I'm going to do is actually try and sell him off, but I brought him in for 5 million. He's still valued at 6.75, so I'm going to try and cash in on him before his physicals go down. But mentally, he's a fantastic player. Good average rating in the league. Played 15 games. Not a bad signing at all. Sundre Rosbach now. I recommended this guy, or Joe did rather, after I'd signed him on the 5-Star Potential podcast. And I know a couple of people have picked him up already. I got him on it was going to be a free, but I could bring the deal forward for 250k. And I thought I'd do that. So he's been okay. He's not a bad goalkeeper at all. Kept 7 clean sheets. Diego Dalot came back on loan, but I terminated that just purely because he wasn't getting any games. Gustavo Gomez came in from AC Milan for £2 million. He's been a pretty decent backup for us, to be honest. I think for £2 million, that's not bad, and it looks like we could make some big money on him if we wanted to. Obviously, Marcelo Herms, we've already looked at. Jose Jimenez was another big signing. Now, unfortunately, he's been out injured with a damaged spine for the last couple of months, but fantastic player. We needed a rock at the back just to stop leaking those goals in, and again, with him, I think we've got a big signing there. Giovanni Lo Celso came in on loan from PSG. Actually didn't play that many games, a lot of them off the bench, to be honest, but look at his value. Rocketed up. He was a great player. It was, if you played him a bit more, who knows what could have happened. Malcolm on loan from Barcelona as well. Fantastic player. One of the best players for us this season. I don't know. I may look to try and get him back. Riyad Mahrez came in on loan as well. That got terminated just purely because he kept getting injured. He wasn't playing many games. I was playing him a fair chunk of money. So he only played 3 games in the league in the end. I don't know who this guy is. Is he a new gen? Yeah, a new gen that I brought into the under-23s. I forgot how good this guy is. Really tasty looking player. Ilmo Pereira from Aves. Another new gen. Pretty nice. Shoya Nakajima came in from Porto. Obviously, they've gone down. He was probably arguably one of their better players. Had a little bit of game time, but again, nothing fantastic. Maybe a player we look to sell on, who we brought in just for under £4 million. Keylor Navas came in. I think he's been one of the big reasons why we've played so well towards the end of the season. A fantastic goalkeeper. I said at the start of the season I wanted a little bit of experience in between the sticks, and we got that. £35 million spent on William Goebbels. Started off okay. Obviously, very young still, and I'm hoping that we can start seeing him fire some goals in next season. Evan Andika. Now, this guy's an absolute machine. 6'4". He grabbed 2 goals in 21 games in all competitions. I really like the look of him. 20 years of age as well. He got recommended in one of the live streams. Dimitri Payet came in on loan. Hasn't really had much game time, but still a good player nonetheless. And Joe Gomez came in on loan from Liverpool. And in the end, ended the season as our main right back. Players that left. Ed Militao, unfortunately, left. His release clause was triggered by Arsenal. Hence the signing of Jose Jimenez. Felipe, that was a pre-arranged transfer. He went out to China. Diego Leite, who was one of our backup centre-halves, got 20 million for him off Borussia Dortmund. Jesus Corona left the club. Abu Bakar left. Oliver and Mbemba. And we got rid of a lot of dead wood, really. So I'm pretty happy with our transfer. So I spent quite a long time talking about the transfers. But moving on now to everyone's season, really. Now, the tactic that I've been using is the same tactic as before, the 4-2-3-1. Mainly playing Gabigol up front, who turned out to be fantastic. 31 goals for him. But the strange thing was, can you see, his goals scored in the last, what competition's that in? Is that the league? No, I think this is since February, he's only scored 6 goals. So it shows how strong he was towards the start of the season to grab 31 goals. Scoring a goal every 144 minutes in the league. But he had a great return in the Portuguese League Cup, scoring a goal every 45 minutes. The attack of the Portugal. And in the Champions League as well. Really decent return of 8 goals. He was great for us. Otavio, as usual, was good. One thing as well that I'm going to show you. We had a guy come in our youth intake, Zay Sousa. You're not ready for this. We had this in the youth intake. This kid, 16 years of age. Just pause it, just look at it, have a cry, do what you want to do. But he looks phenomenal, and he's going to be a fantastic part of the future of Porto, hopefully. Fantastic player, fantastic looking player. Really looking forward to that. But there's so much still to go through. Competition-wise for me, obviously winning the league, knocked out in the first knockout round of the Champions League by Manchester United. Obviously, that was ended up being won by Lyon. The Taça de Portugal, we went and won, and we lost out in the Portuguese League Cup to Joe's Benfica. Quick look at Joe, because he's been trying a couple of different tactics. Right, this is the 4-4-2. We knew that he had last season. That was successful. Now, we tried something different this season. He tried, not the asymmetric, total football. And I don't think it quite went to plan for him. He's three at the back, a defensive midfielder, two midfielders in the middle, two wingers, and two strikers. Now, I know the wingers, he also tried it quite flat at one point. But I know against me, he tried it like that in the final game of the season. So there's still plenty of things to work for Joe. I know that he's disappointed with not winning the league because he was trialing out this tactic. So it'll be interesting to see how he gets on next season. Let's see where his season went wrong as such, though. We'll start with the league. In the league, he was very, very good, almost immaculate at times, but we knew any drop points was dangerous, and it was a big plus for the opposition. So firstly, a game where he didn't even score a goal was against Boavista, a 0-0 draw. One thing I like to look at as well, you can also, I know Joe does it, let's see, import a view. I can't even do it, but having the formation of the opposition next to the manage views. Can I add it on there? Fixtures, filter. No, I can't add it. Formation of the team you played, and it sort of shows wherever you drop points is a similar sort of formation. Belenenses he drew to, Moriense he drew to, Estoril and Boavista he drew to. Then he lost out to Braga, and that was a real turning point in the title race because we were sort of neck and neck up to about there, and that allowed me to pull forward. Firenze he drew to, and that more or less gave me the title, to be honest, and then I beat him on the final day. But obviously he had rested players for the Europa League final. His Taça de Portugal, he lost out in extra time to Firenze, which you wouldn't be happy about. In the Champions League, he had a very tough group of Milan, Bayern and Valencia. In the end, he did win 2 games, but he was knocked out in 3rd place. In the League Cup, which he went on to win, he beat me on penalties in the end. Not a good time at all. And in the Super Tacker, he won 7-0. That's a Community Shield. He won 7-0 in. Europa League, though, he played PSV. Very comfortable win against them. He then went on to play Roma. Started off quite poorly, but came back on the away goal rule. Lautaro Martinez firing in a hat-trick. A good start for him. Lazio, we got a draw and then beat them on penalties. By Leverkusen, he got a draw and then beat them. And then in the final against Monaco, he won 3-2. So it's great for one of us to have continental success so far. The schedule for me, let's have a quick look at the Premier League. Obviously, I didn't actually draw that many games. The only draw I got was against Sporting, but I was losing a couple of games. The other game was against Sporting as well. Lost 4-3. They made a late comeback, a goal from Bastos in the 88th minute. Lost out to Joe's Benfica. Raul Jimenez and Gonzalo Martinez scoring the goals. Malcolm getting the one back. And then the other loss was against Gil Vicente and lost 2-0. Not the best of games. Towards the end of the season, they got a massive 7-0 win. Olivier Incham grabbing a hat-trick. Some big scoring games, though. I think the 7-0 was the biggest. We won 6-2, 5-0 a couple of times as well. It's great to score so many goals, but a lot of comfortable victories in the end for our team in the league. Taça de Portugal, which we went on to win. Beat Portimonense 5-2. Beat Nacional de Madeira 4-3. Firenze 4-0. No, that's the results. Ignore me. We beat, there we go. Operio Lagoa 4-0. Nacional de Madeira 4-3. Viseu 3-1, Portimonense 5-2. In the semi-final 2 legs, we won 7-1 overall. And in the final, after extra time, we won 3-1. The Super Tassa, we're not in. The Champions League, though, my group was, well, we got through the playoffs, so it was Victoria Plazen and Salzburg. Our group was Bruges, Leipzig, and Spurs. So we did quite well in the end. We got through that group, and then we played up against Manchester United, held them to a 2-2 draw at the Estadio de Dragao, and then lost out 2-1 at Old Trafford. And then the League Cup, obviously, we lost out to Joe's Benfica in the final. But next season, I'm hoping that I can retain the league. If there's anything that you guys feel that I've missed out, there's so much that we can go through with players and everything like that. Let us know. We'll try our best to answer the questions. You can follow us over on Twitter. We tend to tweet about it quite often with the hashtag #OClassicoSave if you're on there. If not, just go on Twitter and type all. I'm pretty sure you can still go on Twitter without an account. I'm not sure. But type in hashtag #OClassicoSave and it'll come up with all our updates of that. But guys, I've really enjoyed this. We're still enjoying the network save. We can hear about it every week on the 5-Star Potential podcast. I'll link to that in the description down below. Make sure you hit the like button. Subscribe to the channel if you're new, with more FM stuff coming up very soon. See you later.